So I think that's it from me. I will hand over to Tim Evans, who is Deputy Director of the Archaeology Data Service. You may have also come across him in his role on the Rural Settlement of Roman Britain project at the University of Reading. So the ADS are building and managing the Rewilding project database to make sure that it works not only for us, but also is accessible and reusable in the future. And they're also playing a key role in our project aim to build a better platform for accessing palaeoenvironmental data in the future. So yeah, over to you, Tim.
It's happened again. That's true. I can see on this. Oh no, it's working now. Okay, sorry. Bit of delay. I'm looking at what was the variable line.
Hello everyone, thank you for the introduction, Anglin. Yes, my name is Tim Evans. Nowadays I have the very august title of Deputy Director of the Archaeology Data Service, which means it's my fault when you can't find anything or things break. Way back into time, I had the fortune of working on Mike Fulford and the team on the Roman Rural Settlement project, where I was a sort of data nerd in the background creating databases. And when I actually got my hands dirty building things such as this, I was wheeled out at the workshops that were delivered around the country, presenting the interim results to kind of talk about what we were doing in terms of dissemination and access. And at the end of nearly every one of those talks, the astute people in the audience would go, "That's fantastic, Tim, love it. What next? What do we do in 10 years' time to facilitate this sort of synthesis? Are we going to be reliant on very large grants from research councils to fund lots of PDRAs going through your PDFs again?" And at that point, I sort of just pushed the question over to Mike and quietly disappeared. But it's something that's figured heavily in the project design from Anwin and the team, is that we can do this synthesis now, but what can we do to help people find that specialist data when this project ends? Which is where OASIS comes in. Now, for those of you not familiar with OASIS, it's an online system for recording archaeological projects. It's funded through service agreements through national bodies of Historic England and Historic Environment Scotland. We have nascent talks with Northern Ireland, Manx Heritage, the Channel Islands and the Welsh Commission as well, but primarily at the moment England and Scotland. The main path for OASIS is that it feeds into regional HERs, national records where they exist, but also the new generation of research frameworks. And in Scotland, that it feeds into the periodical Discovery and Excavation Scotland. But also that the reports then that people upload are made freely available at no cost to them via the website of the Archaeology Data Service. I need to fact check this, but it's my hunch that it's probably the most actively used IT system in archaeology in terms of the number of organisations and actual real people that have to engage with it every day. I need to speak to some of my peers internationally to see what the comparisons are, but it is a heavily used system. And last year alone, you can see there were nearly 8,000 projects recorded, the majority of which were planning-led, but also considerable growth in the number of projects being recorded by research organisations, including community groups. And it's been a big aspect to try and get community groups using it more. So the numbers are looking good, if a bit daunting and starting to cause me even more grey hairs. It's prudent just to talk about the people that use OASIS, because I think it's crucial to this conversation. We give them little codes. Inevitably, we have the hard-working post-ex managers, we call the O1s, the people that enter data. We have the HERs, or other people with have a stake in that data, such as the Church of England HER, or the National Trust, or the MOD. They have access. The archives in museums, if it falls within their collecting area, they can see the record as well. The national bodies, of course, can see everything. But a key part of the new system was this new system called a specialist data user. That is someone not normally involved in that process, that may have a research question or want to get at completed finished OASIS records for their analysis and research. This is completely new and it's very much a work in progress, and I'll show you one thing at the end of this talk. But it's all about the people and the levels of access they have. OASIS at its core is very basic. It's a when, what, where. What was done, an excavation, a watching brief, where was it, what does it relate to, who did it, what was found, and where can I see the archive reports, but also any publications that come out of it as well. In terms of what, currently it's based on keywords that use the relative heritage thesauri for England and Scotland, a monument and object at the moment. So here, for example, you can see this person that filled in this report from Cotswold Archaeology, and there's the DOI for the report there, has made, I think, a good effort at using these vocabularies to try and put out some keywords. Why should I look at this report? There's human remains, there's plant macro remains, there's butchered animal remains, all with the sort of 3H system applied. Very, very basic stuff, but I think a good effort there from that individual. But you're all probably thinking there, what species? What sort of quantification, why should I look at this report? Have they just found a bit or a lot? Where's the context? Something that is helping is the new generation of research frameworks. And I'm not going to go into these in depth, but you'll see a lot of material being produced in England and Scotland about these. And OASIS feeds into these. It tries to get people to think about the research and results, outcomes, rather than just, here's what I did. It's actually, why should I look at this report? What is interesting about this project? But also, the new generation of research framework questions are put into. So if you're working here, for example, in the east of England, you might be asked to say, how can palaeoenvironmental assessment be used more effectively for early to middle Bronze Age remains? And then you're prompted to put in a response to how your project addresses that research question. You'll see a lot of training going on at the moment about that, and the early signs are it's actually being used really well. I mean, some of you might critique that answer, but people are at least trying to engage with them and say, what is the research potential of my project? So do please keep an eye on the comms coming from Historic England and Historic Environment Scotland on training and workshops on those. OASIS also aims to link archives. So here, for example, in a project, if you see over here, here's an archive that was produced, and here they've actually put in, they've archived it at the ADS. Likewise, buried right here at the bottom, they've actually put in the accession ID of where the physical and documentary archive is at Oxfordshire Museum Service. So it's just signposting that record is of interest. I can see the report there, there may even be a publication there. I know the archive is there as well. And a lot of this is at the moment trying to keep the training and promotion going so people remember to fill these in. But OASIS Plus takes it a step further. It's basically extra specialist metadata that is defined and required by the community. So it's something I have nothing to do with it because I'm not a specialist, as people will tell you. So for example here, if somebody is doing a geophysical survey, the geophysicists love numbers, really love it. They want to know a lot more detail about the settings on an instrument when that geophysical survey was undertaken. So if you do that sort of project, an extra section pops up, buried at the bottom here, called geophysical survey. The first thing it does is it automatically generates geology for them. Geology is crucial to understanding the results of geophysical survey. OASIS pings over a request to the British Geological Survey web services and automatically looks up, based on your location, what the geology is, according to their lexicon. That goes in. It then allows the user to enter various details about the geophysical survey. And bizarrely, of all the aspects of OASIS, this is one of the least complained about sections. The geophysicists love it because this information is of crucial importance for them, documenting what they've done, but also other people looking at their results and being able to assess what was the resolution, for example, crucial. So that's one example. A bit more lightweight is something we did with burial spaces for people doing graveyard surveys. These are often community-based projects where they go around recording gravestones. In that case, they just wanted 4 fields. What sort of denomination was it? What type of burial space, inhumation cemetery? If it's associated with another resource, they should go and look at, in this case, the church care HER record, and then just a little kind of pick lists to help people understand the significance of that survey. It's scalable. It can be as big or as small or as simple as required. We've got 2 other OASIS Plus modules on the go at the moment. We received a specification from Babio many moons ago for the recording of human remains. This is currently being reviewed by the CIFA Osteoarchaeology Special Interest Group to see what actually needs to be recorded in that. But we will be creating whatever the community needs for human remains. Radiocarbon dating, a bit more complicating, but the plan at the moment is to use it as a signpost for where people can access data or submit their data to a national heritage body. So if you have a set of radiocarbon results, it will tell you where to go and who to send them to. So it can be as simple as a signposting tool. But the key question is, where does this stuff go? Now, apart from those important resources I mentioned, such as the HERs, 2 of the OASIS Plus modules have front ends hosted by the ADS. There's a geophysics database there and the burial spaces database. And roughly once a month, the ADS will transfer the records, the metadata records of those projects over to that database. Someone says, oh, we've got 20 new geophysics records. Click, the metadata goes into that separate database as well. And then people can access that. And that, the geophysics one was originally based on the old database created by Paul and Neil Linford, Historic England. It was seeded with that and extra materials coming in all the time. Burial spaces a bit less frequently updated, but all the same. Research frameworks, the metadata that you just saw for that example should be going into the new research frameworks platform with the URL there. DES, for example, they just want a custom docx export. They can export all formatted exactly the way they want it, that provides the interpretation and the summary of results, and that's all they want. They don't want anything at front end, they just want the PDF or docx summary they can get at to feed into their publication. Or, as we saw with C14, just use it as a signposting mechanism. The options are there. It can be as sophisticated or as basic as required. But something you may want to look at, and I don't want to be too nerdy about this, is the OASIS API. This is brand new, and an API is a way to give program access to OASIS metadata. You will need a developer or a piece of software to interact with it, but it allows somebody, without having to log into OASIS, without having to go to the ADS, dependent on your user level, to get at completed OASIS records and generate it in a format that can then be put into anything else you want, a database, a GIS, a spreadsheet, a whole new website. It just gives you that level of access to the metadata recording. This is brand new. This is something we've been working on for years to try and give people access to metadata, just not in a web page, but for other researchers, people, I just want a list of stuff, Tim, I just want a list of stuff. There we go. And I say that is subject to your user level. And one thing I could see maybe coming out of this project, I don't want to be too prescriptive, is that this is a perfect case study for reuse of OASIS metadata, because it's a big thing where OASIS is funded by Historic England and HES, and they want to see this metadata, anything put into OASIS, work as hard as possible. So that 10 or 15 minutes of people having to fill in forms and go, why am I filling in this form? Yes, it's gone to all the other places, but if we can also give specialists programmatic access to this metadata, And if, for example, this community felt we wanted you to create a specialist data user called palaeoenvironmental specialists, and we want you to set up that, and that gives us access to just palaeoenvironmental or whatever your set criteria, we can do that. We would need the specification from you, and that's why we're here today, to see about what sort of things you might want to be put into OASIS, what you'd want to get out. Anything that was coming out would have to run past the OASIS Management Board. Here they're a very glamorous set of people, but they represent all the key stakeholders of OASIS, including the post-ex managers and CIFA. So we just have to run that by them, just so they know where the OASIS metadata is going, but I think they could only approve or agree on any such solution. I'm going to leave it there. I could go on about data all morning, as you can probably tell. I'm happy to take questions now. Come and grab me when I'm drinking tea. If you have any thoughts on what could or should not be done, please send them politely to me there, as I will be we will be needing feedback and constructive criticism over what we should be creating. And I think most importantly, any OASIS Plus OASIS Plus module that is created will be reviewed consistently and also go out to the people that put OASIS records in. Here's what's being suggested. What do you think? Is this achievable? So it's very much an iterative process. I shall stop there.